is y equals mx plus b, or it's y minus y1 equals the slope x minus x1. So in your data set that you sent me, we can use two ordered pairs to come up with data points. So for example, we can use the ordered pair 300 comma minus 25, and then 2100 comma minus 175. And this is like x1 and y1, and this is x2 and this is y2.
Mhm.
So the first thing we have to find is the slope. The slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're gonna substitute these values in: minus 175 minus a minus 25. That goes in parentheses. That way you know to distribute the negative. And then 2100 minus 300. All right, so in the numerator you get negative 175 plus 25. In the denominator, you get 2100 minus 300, that's 1800. The top is minus 150 over 1800. And from here, you might think, oh, let me go grab my calculator, but you can still do this by hand. The zeros cancel, and then 5 goes into both 15 and 180. So you're just reducing here it becomes negative 3 over however many times 5 goes into 180. So 5 goes into 240 times. So you back it off. It's a minus 3 over 36. And then you can see that that even further reduces to minus 1 over 12. So the slope, a lot of work there. The slope is negative 1 over 12.
Okay.
Okay. And then you get your choice of which equation you want to use. Do you want to use the top one or the bottom one? It doesn't specify, so we can use either.
Let's do the top one.
Okay, so the top one says y equals minus 1 over 12x plus b. And now we're going to use one of the data points. So let's use the first one. Negative 25, we're putting y1 or y in for y equals negative 1 over 12 times 300 plus b. Okay. So now you've got to reduce here. So 300 is divisible by 12, believe it or not, it's 25. So it's minus 25 plus b. When you add 25 to both sides, you get b equals 0. And that means that you can go back to this equation right here. And your equation is y equals negative 1 over 12x plus 0, but you don't write that. You just write y equals minus 1 over 12 times x.
Okay.
Okay, that's part C, what we just did there. I mean, there's a lot there for just part C. Part D is to interpret the meaning of the slope in the context of the problem. So like this, they show you this, like, let me snip this in so that we can talk about the snipping tool here. Okay, so this 8% grade, if you're driving, you might have seen that every so often. 8% grade. What that means is it goes, that means it's a slope of minus 8 over 100.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say, well, why is it negative? You know, that we could talk about that, but let's just go with it for right now. So in your problem, your slope was minus 1 over 12 from your problem. And we're doing part D right now. Part D, that means that it goes down 1 foot. That's what this top number means, for every 12 feet traveled horizontally. And that may not be clear, but a picture will be. So the road is going like this, and
Mhm.
it goes down 1 and right 12. So your car is here driving along.
Okay.
That's what the but that's part D. Part E, the surveyor needs to put up a road sign that indicates the steepness of the road. What should the sign state for the road in this problem? So they tell you that -8 over 100 corresponds to 8%. But the slope in your problem is -1 over 12. So we have to convert this to a decimal.
Okay.
Because 8 over 100 is really 0.08, and that's how they get the 8%. So 1 over 12, you can do it by hand. You can also use a calculator. You've got one there with you. Why don't you just punch in 1 over 12 into your calculator?
0.083 repeating.
Yeah. So it might say 8.3% grade.
Okay.
Something like that. Okay, so let's go to question 119, if that's where you want to move to.
Mhm.
Okay. So for question 119, you're definitely going to want to grab your calculator again and we're going to enter this data into it so you can get a scatter plot of it. Okay, so the first column is X. The second column is Y. Okay, but the problem says that X equals 0 corresponds to 1990. So
Mhm.
1990 is really, it's not really that, it's really 0. And then 1991 is really 1 because it's 1 more than 1990. 2, 3, and so on here. So instead of writing these out, you're going to want to put in 0 and then 5.31 and 7.6.
Okay.
So grab your calculator and you go to stat,
Mhm.
and then you hit enter,
Mhm.
and that brings up L1 and L2. Like you see an L1 and then an L2 and then an
Mhm.
L3. So you want to enter your data in L1. So you want to go 0, 1, 2, all the way up to 12, basically. And then
Okay.
L2 is 5.3 all the way to 140.8.
Okay.
Okay, so now you're going to want to graph it. So hit the graph button and tell me if you see the data points. You may or may not. I'm not sure how this will work. Is that working for you? Or I can, there's also a zoom setting that we can change.
No, it says dimension mismatch.
Okay, so that means that you didn't get the data quite right in your list. You have to have the same number of data points in each one. So You must have missed one or added one or something. So go back to stat enter. That gets you to your list. And just use the arrows to scroll up and down and see if you can figure out where you missed the data points or not.
Oh, okay, I found it.
Excellent. Okay, so Julie, if there's a zoom setting here, zoom, and then if you hit the zoom, it's on that top row, the blue buttons. If you hit the 9, the number 9, or you hit the up and down arrow to get to 9 and then hit enter, that'll give you a bigger, that'll give you the right window to graph it in.
Oh, okay.
And that's something you'll want to do each time, because it like the window, it doesn't remember, it doesn't know the right window. You have to either tell it the right window or use that, and then it tries to guess the right window.
Okay.
So you're gonna plot those data points on your homework somewhere. I mean, it looks like they go up, like something like that. Maybe, I'm not sure, something.
Okay.
So we may have gone beyond what you want to do. Sometimes I forget that you're starting out the year and not right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
They may have just wanted you to draw a line like this that you thought was good,
Yeah.
and then figuring out, well, what's the slope of this line? You're going up some and over some, up some and over some, and so on, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to get you to figure out there. So you could probably reasonably like guess the slope here. We can also calculate it with a couple of data points. Like we can use the first and the last if you want. So the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And let's just use that first data point, 0, comma 5.3, and then 12, comma 140.8. Okay, so you got x1, y1, x2, y2. So 140.8 minus 5.3 over 12 minus 0. And you end up getting here 135.5 over 12. And you can grab a calculator to guess that, get that value.
$11.29.
Okay, so let's just say 11.3. Okay. And then because we have this data point 0, comma 5.3, that's actually the b value. So if we write y equals mx plus b, the b value is when x is 0. So we have the slope here, 11.3x plus 5.3.
Okay.
And that's part C. Part C is coming up with this equation.
Okay.
Okay, now in part D, now I'll start snipping it in here. Part D wants a short paragraph explaining the meaning of the slope and the y-intercept. And this is something that you will see in a lot of math classes. They want you to interpret. So we're going to do that here next. Let me get this snipped in. All right, so the part D here, the interpret, the slope is the rise over the run, and you just need you need the units for the rise, or the unit of the Y values. What are the units of Y? So here it's the units of Y is the number of phone subscribers. And then the run is the X values, the units of X, and that's in years. So now we can make a statement out of this. We can say the slope is the number of phone subscribers per year.
Okay.
Okay. E, oh, now we need to do the Y-intercept. So the Y-intercept is the starting value. It's the number of phone subscribers when you started out. So it's the number of phone subscribers in the year 1990. That's the starting year. But it's in millions. I guess that's also important. It's in millions. It's not 5.3, it's 5.3 million. Which maybe seems like a lot, but there's billions and billions of people on the planet, so not that many.
Mm-hmm. In here. Okay.
So as part E, it says compare the values obtained using your model with the actual values. So I think I don't quite know what they're asking for in part E. I don't know if they're asking you to I don't know if they're asking you to like make another. I guess they're asking you to use your model, okay, and make a table here. So you have your X values and your Y values. Y equals 11.3X plus 5.3. And they're saying to put the X value like of 0 in and get the Y value out. So you take 11.3 times 0 plus 5.3 and you get 5.3. This is for part E.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to do it for 1. Okay. So you're putting 1 in for X. So it's 11.3 times 1 plus 5.3 equals, and it ends up equaling 16.6. Okay. And you would continue doing this. And what I think you saw, you have to correct me if you saw something different, but it looked like the model went up like this.
Yeah.
And your line though probably looks like that. So the like what E is really asking is you to say that the straight line kind of like in this first part it overestimates.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this region right here, the straight line underestimates the
Yeah.
actual values. And I think your instructor might appreciate those words if you were asked them. But you want to be very clear that like the line is above it, and then the line is below it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now part F. Part F is actually kind of what we're doing here in this table. It's saying the year is 2008. That is the X value of 18. That's because 2008 minus 1990 is 18. So that's, you're subtracting the base year.
Okay.
So you're going to put 18 into your equation. Y equals 11.3 times 18 plus 5.3. If you got your calculator handy, go ahead and give that a try.
208.7.
Okay, and that's in millions. So that's 208.7 million subscribers.
Okay.
All right. So I think that takes care of those two questions. I did not see an email come through. So if you're gonna send off some more questions, I'll just kindly ask that you just check that that's the right email you're sending to for it, or you can text me, but it's a little slower for me to convert it to the format here.
Okay. So the next part I would like to work on is for my diagnostic tomorrow. And the subjects are system of equations, radians, and sin cos tan.
Okay, slow down here. Let me I'm gonna type these out in the chat because I heard a bunch there. I want to make sure I got them all. Why is this coming up? Okay. So I heard systems, radian measure,
Mm-hmm.
and then what was the other one? I heard maybe some trigonometric functions.
Yeah, sin cos tan.
Okay, so I heard sine, cosine, and tangent. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Which do you feel the strongest about?
Sin cos tan.
Okay, so let's talk about radian measure. So an angle, I can tell you an angle, I can tell you x equals 30 degrees, and that's the degree symbol.
Okay.
And I can ask you to convert to radian. So there's a little picture we can draw here. We can say, okay, if it degrees and then radians over here, and to get from one to the other, you multiply by pi over 180. So take that 30 degrees, you would multiply it by pi over 180. Now, as part of doing this, you drop the degree symbol. Okay, so it's not there anymore. But this becomes 30 pi over 180. And then you reduce the fraction.
Okay.
So like the zeros cancel, so it becomes 3 pi over 18. Then 3 goes into 18 6 times, so it's 1 pi over 6. Like that.
Okay.
Okay, so what would 90 degrees be converted to radian? I'd like you to try that.
One pi over 2.
Very good. Pi over 2. So it's pi over 2. Now we can get more sophisticated. Like I could ask you, what is 315 degrees, negative 315 degrees converted to radian? But it's the same procedure. You take minus 315 and you multiply it by pi over 180. So you get negative 315 pi over 180. Now let's say do you think you'll have a calculator for this diagnostic?
I think so.
Okay, So you never put the pi in your calculator. That will cause problems here for you. But if you put minus 315 over 180 in your calculator and you hit enter, but then you hit math, enter, enter, it will convert it to a fraction. So if you've got that calculator handy, type in minus 315 over 180. Notice we're not putting the pi in, leaving the pi off. Hit enter, you'll see you'll get a decimal.
Yes.
Okay, we'll now hit the math button. The math button is under the alpha button.
Mm-hmm.
So and then hit enter, enter again, and you should get a fraction. You should get minus 7 over 4.
Yes.
And then you just bring that pi down there with you.
Okay.
Okay, so now you can also go from, so we went from degrees to radians. Okay, you can go the other way by multiplying by 180 over pi.
Right.
So for example, let's say I said I'm going to give you 7 pi over 6 radians. And I said to convert it to degrees, you would multiply by 180 over pi. So just to be clear, you're going from degrees to radians, it was multiplied by pi over 180. And now it's 180 over pi. So you have to know each of those. Like that's your flashcard between now and tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. So the pi's cancel. Okay. 180 is divisible by 6. Or you can just punch this all into your calculator. That goes in there 30 times. This equals 210 degrees. So try this example on your own here. Let's convert 4 pi over 3 to degrees.
Okay, 4 pi over 3.
So just like the previous problem, you're going to multiply by 180 over pi.
240 degrees.
Yes. Now, do you know your instructor well enough to know whether they like to give kind of exceptions or odd questions or, not non-standard questions, I guess?
He doesn't do any like weird questions like that. They're pretty straightforward.
Okay. So that covers radian measure then.
Okay.
There are, and I'll maybe make this last point, there are 2 pi radians in the unit circle, which is 360 degrees. And that should make sense because if you take 360 degrees and you multiply by pi over 180, what do you have left? What does that become? It becomes 2 pi. 2 pi. Yeah. So it's not all that unusual. Okay. So we're going to do systems next.
Okay.
Let me pull something up here that I think will be useful. If I can find it. Delivery. There it is. Rotation. All right, 29. All right. So you probably already know that I'm doing a question of the week on my website for SAT, ACT prep. It's never too soon to start looking at that. I'm going to pull up the question, but we're not going to do it in that form, but it's a system. And this is actually out a week, but I want you to look at it just so you can see some things here. All right. So this is a system. This is a system.
Okay.
Don't worry about all this stuff down here. Just try to focus on the system here. Do you remember the ways you might solve a system? There's a couple of ways.
I don't.
One is substitution and one is elimination.
Okay.
Do you, now that you've seen those two words, do you remember which one might be more appropriate here?
Um,
It's okay. So you're going to just add these up, add these equations together.
okay.
So you're going to add them vertically. So like, what is minus 3x plus 6x?
3x.
3x. What is minus 3y plus 3y?
0.
0.
Yeah.
Equals, what is 6 plus 3?
9.
9. So you divide by 3, divide by 3. So x is 3. Now that you have one of the letters, what do you do about the other? How do you find y? Do you recall that?
You plug in x.
Yes. Does it matter which equation you use?
No.
No, it does not. I'm going to do the second equation. So 6 times 3 plus 3y equals 3. We're going to multiply 6 times 3. That's 18. And just go ahead and solve it from here. I'm going to pull up some more systems questions. I've got something better for us that we can work on together. I think will be more helpful, but go ahead and give me the correct answer there for that.
Y equals -5.
Yes. All right. Worksheets. Where's my, oh, there's my systems worksheet. Okay. All right, so let's look at a practice problem here together. Put a couple, we can do a couple here. So these are the practice problems that we're going to start with. Okay, so these are both systems, and the instructions will say to solve the system. Okay. For both of these, you can simply just add them vertically. So I'd like you to do that on the left here. Add these vertically and tell me what is the x value.
Okay.
So I'm saying to add this column, then add this column, and then add this column.
X equals -1.
X equals -1. So now which equation do you want to use to find y?
The first one.
First one. So 2 times -1 plus y equals -7. So that's -2 plus y equals -7. Add 2 to both sides, and y equals -5.
Okay.
So try number 2 over here. I'll give you about 60 seconds to see if you can work that out, and then we'll move on to some more difficult ones if you get those.
Okay. Y equals 3 and X equals 4.
X equals 4, y equals 3. Those both work there. Okay. So the other type of question you might see, and this is is where you get a system and you can't just add, but you can subtract, or you can, what I call multiply by -1 is kind of the other way to look at it. Like, see how like these both have a y, but you can't just like, you can't add them because the y doesn't go away. So if you multiply this equation by -1, you get -x minus y equals -5. And if we just rewrite the first equation, 2x plus y equals 9. Now it looks a lot like the one we just did.
Yeah.
Because you can just add them vertically. You could say, okay, 2x minus x, that's x. Y minus y, that goes away, equals 4. And then you can solve for y. You can say, oh, 2 times, so I'm going to use the first equation, 4 plus y equals 9. 8 plus y equals 9. So y equals 1.
Okay.
So in the second question here, I want you to multiply by -1, rewrite them down here, and then add.
X equals 3.
Okay, and what does y equal? Use the second equation here for that.
Okay. Y equals 5.
Good, excellent. Okay, so let's look at another type of elimination that you might see. And I'm giving you the most basic, vanilla, boring ones that I can. These all come from worksheets that like we're doing the easiest one within each type of elimination. So there's a lot more practice that you might want to do if you had more time. But notice in this first question here, 2x plus 2y equals -6, x minus y equals 1. You can't just add them, and you can't just multiply by a -1. You have to actually multiply one equation or the other by a number. So I'm going to tell you here that you multiply the second equation by 2. Okay, so it's 2x minus 2y equals 2. Then we're going to bring down that first equation, 2x plus 2y equals -6. Do you see now why I multiplied by 2? Because I wanted to get rid of y. I wanted to cancel out y, and they were already opposite in sign. So now you can just add vertically. 4x equals -4. The y's cancel. X equals -1. So we can use either equation. I'm going to go back to the second equation, I guess. -1 minus y equals 1. Add 1 to both sides. Y is negative. So y equals -2.
Yeah.
So similarly, question number 2, there's an opposite in sign here, so that you would multiply by 2. So you get 2x minus 2y equals 14. You have to multiply everything. It's not a choice. You have to do everything. 2x plus 2y equals -6. Now you can add them. 4x equals 8. So the y's cancel. 2x plus 2x gives you 4x. -6 plus 14 gives you 8. divide by 4, divide by 4. So x equals 2.
Mhm.
And then we can use that second equation, 2 minus y equals 7. Subtract 2, minus y equals 5. So y equals -5 for that.
Okay.
Let me have you try one of these on your own here. See if you can answer this one on your own. If you need a hint what to multiply one equation by the other, I can do that, but go ahead and give that a shot, please.
Okay. Wait, do you multiply this one by anything?
Well, you can't just add them. You can't that, and that was the whole point. Is like we've moved past the ones that you can't add or subtract. Here, if you try to add them, you just get x's and y's.
Mm-hmm.
So if you multiply the second one by 2, you get minus 2x plus 4y equals minus 12. Bring that first one down, 2x plus 3y equals -2. Now you can just add them to get rid of one of the variables.
Okay.
So that's 7y equals minus 14. And then y equals -2. Let's see here if there's one more that's numbers don't get too big on us. Yeah, let's try one more here. We'll try 5. See if this resonates here for you. This will probably have to be our last question also.
Okay.
So the first equation is 3x plus 12y equals minus 48. Second equation is 4x minus 3y equals 31. Do you see how these are already opposite in sign?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were looking for here in this number 4. Because they're opposite in sign, you only have to multiply one of the equations. Okay. So if you multiply the second equation by 4, you're going to get a minus 12y. And that's what we want to cancel. Do you see that? Do you remember that from before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have 3x plus 12y equals minus 48. But then we get 16x minus 12y equals 124. So that's 19x equals, I know the numbers get a little big here. It's 76, I believe. Yeah, 76 divide by 19, divide by 19. So x ends up equaling 4. And then you always go back and you take that number and you put it back into one equation. Let's go to the first equation this time. So go 3 times 4 plus 12y equals minus 48. That's 12 plus 12y equals minus 48. Subtract 12, subtract 12. 12y equals minus 60. Divide by 12, divide by 12. Y equals minus 5.
Okay.
All right. So you've got a diagnostic tomorrow. Sounds like it's not something that you for a grade. So there's a little, wiggle room here early in the semester.
Yeah.
So I apologize for the change. Traveling's a nightmare sometimes, but
Yeah.
thank you for being patient with me. If you didn't feel like you got enough out of this, we could schedule another session. Maybe even a half hour if you want to continue going over this, just as a courtesy to you for being such a great customer. Let me know if you want to do that, like on Sunday. I'd be available to do that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Julia. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye now.
Bye.